is important for your pelvic floor because it helps to lengthen and stretch your pelvic floor. In a hip hinge, that would be if you're doing a deadlift, a good morning, a single-legged split stance, any of those movements, even the squat, there's a hip hinge in the squat when done properly. All of those movements help to lengthen and create space in the glutes and the hamstrings. And when your glutes are attached to the posterior wall of your pelvis, and when the glutes are tight, don't have full range of motion, your pelvic floor does not have full range of motion to lengthen either. And we need that pelvic floor to lengthen so the diaphragm has full range of motion. So they all work yin and yang together. So in a hip hinge, the glutes lengthen, the piriformis lengthens, all the muscles back here lengthen so the pelvic floor has room to lengthen. If you're really locked and your squats look like this and your glutes can't stretch back in that hip hinge, your pelvic floor has limited. So if you're not doing hip hinges in your workouts, you absolutely need to start. And I love single-legged hip hinges. So for example, if I'm doing a stance like this, where this leg is doing the primary work, this leg is helping to stabilize the pelvis, unilateral work means one leg is having to work independently of the other. So if I'm doing a deadlift, inhale, exhale, this glute is getting most of the stretch and the work. So inhale, hip stays square. The tendency is for the hip to hike, and then that's not stretching the glute of the leg that you're trying to stretch. Close that hip. Now you're going to get that full stretch, and when you have a full stretch, you can fully strengthen the muscle, right? Close the hip. Exhale. Again with the breath is an inhale. Let the diaphragm push down on the pelvic floor to lengthen it. So you're stretching the glutes, stretching the pelvic floor. Exhale. Glutes relax, pelvic floor relaxes. You may be really tight and locked in your hips, and therefore you need to start doing some single-legged mobility with those hips and some articulations with that low spine. So getting some pelvis mobility from all planes of motion. So sitting on a stability ball, doing hip circles, hula hooping, internal rotation, external rotation. All of it is going to help create more mobility and space in those hips. And when you have more mobility and space in your hips, you have more movement. And for your pelvic floor, you have more length. And we need length in order to strengthen. So the boys are making protein balls, and I've been making this recipe for years and years and years, and it's so easy and so good. It's just oats, like oatmeal, rolled oats, and a couple little chocolate chips, vanilla protein powder, peanut butter, and honey, and basically the boys can do it themselves now, and it's great. We freeze them. They're like great frozen. You can pack them, take them, and there's packed with protein, some fat, a little sweetness, and it's a good healthy snack.